team. Moving forward, then here's some housekeeping. We're gonna be together for about one and a half hour max. 8:30 we will be I'm just removing this. We will be in closing remarks. But what it's about tonight, it's the third of a series of educational forums that we brought. We said third because now it's the end of the school year. If you hear education forum, then you're gonna have a break because we're gonna be in summer mode, and we want to thank each and every one of you who have attended the first two forums. Without any further ado, we're asking our panelists, Winnie Tang, to introduce herself. She will be followed by Commissioner Mackenzie Fleurimont of North Miami Beach and our leader, Lorenzo Canizares. Please, panelists, each of you 2 minutes to simply introduce yourself. 2 minutes each.
Hi, good evening. This is Winnie. One question, Dr. Foy. This went not to the talking yet. This is only introduction, right?
It's only to tell the public who you are. And if you want to make it 1 minute, that's even better.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and nice to see everybody here. And really, truly, today is just a very horrific happening to our community, and which is our prayer to those affecting to this issue. My name is Winnie Tang, and I'm serving as a president for the Asian Services and the vice president for Asian American Federation of Foreigners. And what we're doing the program in the community is civic engagement to have the immigrants to apply for citizenship, become citizens. So also I want to mention this month, June, is Immigrant Heritage Month. So, and everybody here, and happy Immigrant Heritage Month. And then some of you are Caribbean, so happy Caribbean American Heritage Month. And we do the program in the community to really have the green card holder. Most of them is Chinese and Asian to apply citizenship. And then after that one, we are working with them to register them to be voted, to get the voice be heard. And then another one, that lady, we do a lot of program into the health program, and then to Affordable Care Act, and also Medicaid programs. And then another one that some of you may heard of me before is an all-away research program, which is a program that look for 1 million people to join to increasing the database. So we have information to do health, impacting the future health for everybody. So those is very important program that we are working with the communities. So we are really thank you for this special opportunity to here to sharing what going on in the community and the Asian community most lately. And other thing that we do, and lately we just have a radio show. It's called ACE Talk. It's Asian Caribbean Exchange, and we want to really bring these two community closer, work together to share issues.
Time. 2 minutes.
Now we thank you, Winnie, for your introduction. And now Commissioner Mackenzie Fleurimont, 2 minutes. Introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Mackenzie Fleurimont, Commissioner in the city of North Miami Beach. First off, I'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by the collapse in Surfside. And a little about myself. I am an elected official in the city of North Miami Beach. I was appointed in 2010. Subsequently, I continued to work on different boards and committees in the city and outside of the city, and was elected in 2018 and re-elected in 2020. And I sit on the Police and Fire Retirement Board, as well as Economic Development and Parks and Recreations Board. I am also a member of the 100 Black Men of South Florida. I am also a member of the Miami-Dade Democratic Party and other organizations within Miami-Dade County, and I look forward to participating in this forum. Thank you.
Welcome. Chairman Lorenzo Canizares, your introduction, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Mariflor. First of all, let me thank Dr. Lindor Latotue for the incredible job she has done putting together this series of forums, which, as one said before, they have been extremely educational and well put together. So thank you very much for all your efforts. You are a credit to LCA and to the work. I'm the co-chair with of the Labor Community Alliance of South Florida, and I was one of the founders of this organization, together with Jack Lieberman and Victor Nieto, I was a labor union organizer for 40 years in New York and Pennsylvania. I came back to Florida. I finished high school here, then went to school in the north, and came back to Florida in 2013. The other thing that I do plenty of is Facebook. I have 27 groups and pages that I administer in Facebook. So when people, I write often essays. People tell me, why don't you send the thing to Miami Herald? I don't need to. I have more people looking at what I write through Facebook than I do at the Miami Herald. Plus, without the hassle of having to be so with the words and all that. So also I'm active in Twitter, and I don't know anything else well, I'm active in the Cuban the struggle against the Cuban embargo.
Mr. Lorenzo, your time is up.
All right.
Okay. That being said, one of the reasons that we changed the format and allow panelists to introduce themselves today, it's for you to really have an idea of the issues, and when we bring them, you see the essence and the connection of diversity within the presentation. With Miss Winnie Tang, it's the Asian community and also the word immigrants. That's what we want you, all participants, to capture. With elected official, Commissioner Mackenzie Fleuryman, one of his passion is that he's also part of the police firemen group. Then we will be discussing the policing and also some of the training required and some scenario as it relates to today's topic. And our chairman with his love and passion for labor. This being said and introduced properly, we're gonna go with the first questions for our panelists. Winnie, Lorenzo, and Mackenzie, just to create an atmosphere where everybody gonna sit home and enjoy and participate. The topic today of racial superiority is a very, very a la mode, if we can say it. Está de moda. It's a topic of concern. It's a daily topic. Then why is it important to each and every one of you? Starting with you, Winnie.
Okay. So important to us with the Asian community that we always being underserved community. Even though a lot of things talked about us being here, we're very successful in education and successful in business, but somehow under the immigration platform, and Asian is not the one that's seeing that we are part of the whole immigrant communities. And as the years for the history, Chinese has been the one being discriminating for a long, long time. And we came to this country back into the 1800s to have to build a railroad. and connecting the East and the West. And also we are working so hard to really cutting down the time from 12 years to the 7 years, carry thousands pounds to lay the track on the West Coast. But somehow all this hard work that the Chinese have contribution to this country never been mentioned, never been shared. And you don't find that in the history book, you don't find it in anywhere. So for us as an immigrant to this community, that we are doing the work in these countries. And why last time when we talk about it, and the Asian community being like anti-Asian hate across the countries, and that they don't see us American. A lot of us American, we may be immigrant right now. You talk about first generation here as a naturalized citizens, but many of the Chinese and Asian, they are American born, and with the Chinese face, they will not say that they are American citizen. They will tell them go back where you come from. And even the little kid in the park, they've been experiencing that kind of like talk. 4 years old tell a 2 years old go back to your countries. So with that. And that's why the immigration issue and is so important for us to be working together with you and then with everybody to really tell people, Asian, doesn't matter, we may come from other country, but the children, they are born here. We are part of these societies, and then they work really hard in school. And we also being a very high achiever in school, and then some of the school also we've been penalized, and then for the admissions. And so a lot of things when you're looking at it, and you may not, as not from the Asian community, you may not heard about some of the struggling that we've been experienced and among ourselves. And sometimes we serve the country. I have a friend here, Cotton, and then we are working together to do the veterans documentary film. And even though exclusion, that's 1882 Exclusion Act, getting the Chinese cannot become citizen, cannot come to this country, but we still have 26,000 Chinese at that time, doesn't speak much good English, but they serve this country. And all this kind of work, all this kind of like contribution. And if we don't talk about it, you may not think about Chinese is like loyal to China, not loyal to the country here. And some of the one you have very much about is like Congressman Ted Lieu, and he is serving this country as a veteran. And then also sometimes he also experienced the people tell him to go back his country. So that's why I'm here today. And then really thank you for giving me the chance to work with you to listen why immigration racial is the disparity is so important. And you may see any as a European, they can see, even though they are undocumented, they may see that as a citizen. But for us, Asian, Chinese, we always thinking that we are not citizen of this country, no matter how many generations we born here. So the racial discrimination, and then this area, we just need to work together to really embrace everybody. It doesn't matter where they come from, and we should be working together. Thank you.
Commissioner, remember that Janice is still keeping time. So far, you did good, Winnie. Commissioner, why is the topic of racial superiority is important to you today?
Thank you, Dr. Floor, and thank you, Janice Coakley, and all of the members of the Labor Alliance. Thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to hearken on the fact that superiority in all its form leads to inequities in our society, right? And so when we're looking at superiority, whether it's the belief that one race is better than another, one ethnicity is better than another, one religion, one sexual orientation is better than another, or just one's ideology is better than another, what starts to happen is people with that sort of thought process begin to play very important roles in our society. And as those people play roles in our society, their policies that they enact, the laws that they pass, begin to reflect their belief system and their ideology. So that's why it's very important that we focus and understand what's the ideology of superiority is and how it can actually affect our society, all the way down to our education system, what we're taught to think about ourselves and others. And that begins to play a really, really important role in socioeconomic outcomes in our community. So I'm very happy that we're discussing this, because I think that as a society, we need to be very mindful of how these thought processes play a role. And if we can understand, and if we can look at how we can make a difference, then we can begin to make sure that we not only have equality, but we have equity in our society.
Chairman?
Yeah, this issue is of great importance to me, because I love this country deeply. I came here young and have grown up here. I'm now 74 years old. I've spent most of my life here. As a matter of fact, I spent most of my life in New Jersey. So you hear this accent is from New Jersey. The thing that I want to emphasize is that the marriage of white supremacy with unbridled greed is what, in my opinion, is a cancer inside of our society that is destroying our society. Let me repeat that. The marriage of white supremacy and unbridled greed. White supremacy is the shock troops, is the mass movement and the shock troops of the unbridled greed. Unbridled greed uses white supremacy to gather people. And when I talk about unbridled greed, I mean those filthy rich people that are a small percentage of the population, but they have the money to be able to buy a lot of people and to create the conditions that a lot of people will be subservient to them. And so those people control the white supremacy movement, and the white supremacy movement is a two-headed monster of a mass movement, and also the thing of being the shock troops. Anybody that is familiar with what happened in Germany, the equivalency of the white supremacy here, and we saw that in January 6th at the insurrection, that could have been
Lorenzo, time up.
All right, I will continue later on.
Wherever you are watching, because that is being recorded, an educational forum brought to you by the Labor Community Alliance. The first question that we brought today to our panelists, it's the importance of racial superiority to each of them. According to panelist Winnie Tang, Chinese came to the US, contributed, and yet they are minimized. Their contribution is not taken to value, but minimized. And she mentioned the word Exclusion Act. Solution, change discrimination, educate everyone to have a sense of belonging, and embrace everybody. As for Commissioner Fleury-Mont, he brought it to the perspective and make a corroboration between superiority and inequality. He stated that any one ideology of feeling better than other, regardless from the perspective of religion, sexuality, make you take more space than the other individual. Commissioner Fleury-Mont is asking you to reflect on that type of behavior and also encourage each and every one of you listening, and that is part of that forum, to make a difference and to consider equality in lieu of inequality. Lastly, Chairman, from a perspective of living in the US for about more than 50 years, gave us the perspective of the rich and the way the wealthy take advantage and lead a mass movement. Then now, guys, it's getting very excited. Let's go with the scenario of George Floyd. Is there any correlation between that scenario of George Floyd last year and racial superiority? Starting with you, Chairman, that way we can control your time.
Yes, definitely. George Floyd, what happened with George Floyd reflected the hatred that has been developed in this country by certain sectors of the society towards minority people. What Commissioner Florimond mentioned in terms of the question of equality, what Winnie mentioned in question of what happened to Asian Americans, is all part of that stew of hatred that that exists in this country. Remember that video. If you remember that video, Derek Chauvin was enjoying what he was doing, was enjoying killing George Floyd. And that is like the lowest of the humans, and these are the same people that were capable of killing 6 million Jews in Germany, and these are the same people that could be very easily be capable of blowing up a building in anywhere in the country. And like happened with Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City, the hatred of these people is of such level that is had to do in a certain way. You have to live here to understand it. So that's why what I think of the George Floyd situation. If hadn't been because that young lady took the video, we might not have had a conviction. Remember, according to the police, he died of a heart attack. The first report was that he died of a heart attack. It wasn't until the video came out that the whole thing changed, and the video provided the victory. That young lady deserves the greatest praise from all of us, because basically when that attack happened, that is minority America that was being attacked. All of us that are part of the minority America were being attacked. The hatred
time is up.
Okay. Let me finish the thought. The hatred to the black people is beyond belief. But all right.
Okay, we need your perspective.
Well, when we look at the Black Lives Matter, and when we heard what happened or seen what happened to George Floyd, and it was just like what Lorenzo was saying, that it is very with the video showing that they still saying that this is not really what happened, okay? But we all seen those X amount of minutes really changing people's life, and it really changing the community. People all come together. For the Asian community, years ago, we got in all those discrimination, kicking out this country, and we got so much of masquerade in Chinatown throughout the time during the 1882 Exclusion Act. And it just like what you're saying, that the law in the right subpoena's hand, they pretty much do what they want to do. And this is what, but today with all these real-time informations, nobody really can deny in that. And one not so good, but it's a good thing, really kind of getting people all together. You can see a lot of young people, especially a lot of young Asian American, they really came out together to really march with all those people. So when you're looking at that, it's an immigrant issue, and this is something is really, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, but actually it's all lives matter. When you take all those color away, is a human being, and a person got die in such a way is no one should sitting and on side to really let that happen. So I think that really getting many people, they did not really think about the consequence, and then to really gathering up the community to come together to march around the whole, not only in the country, in the United States, it's around the world. So this is how the impact of this when people is not going to sitting back to see some people really killing somebody in front of millions of people and still can get away of it. There's no way going to be happening that way. So I think it's really help us to find a way to getting maybe the police officer, they see their power, but we want to make sure that we are watching them to make sure the reform is not going to be take away their budget. Is really going to have them to work more closely with the community. Years ago, I stay in North Miami right now, they have a neighborhood police team together. So I think we need to work together.
Time.
Commissioner?
Very good responses. I think I can add some value by stating that when we look at policing in America, and we look at the origins of policing in America, and the correlation between the KKK and the police, and how they were infiltrated by the KKK. And historically, a lot of police policy has also included implicit biases as well towards people of color, towards immigrants, and towards, frankly, people who were not white. And I think that there's been a residual effect on policing today. Mm-hmm. And we see that in the way people of color and immigrants are treated by police officers quite often. Now, as an elected official, I'm going to say, because I deal with officers on a daily basis, that most officers are very well intentioned. But you do have officers that are in the line of duty that have implicit and explicit biases towards people of color. And that's just the bottom line. And it's so much so that the Department of Justice has required implicit bias training as part of consent decrees that it imposes to root out discriminatory practices in law enforcement agencies. So this is something that even the federal government has been working to try to curb, because it is just that evident. So what does that look like when someone gets stopped by a police officer? It looks like subconsciously, if someone gets stopped by a police officer and they're Black, that their treatment is going to be different than if they were white. It looks like if someone gets stopped by a police officer that is an immigrant, that their treatment may be different than that of someone who is not.
Can you wrap Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Your time is up, so you want to finish that real quick, please?
Yes, I will. Although I feel like my time went by faster than the others, but it's okay. I'll finish this point quickly.
I have a timer here.
Okay, but what I will say is that it is a work that we need to be very cognizant about, that we as cities are taking note and doing. But yes, when we look at George Floyd and we look at other situations that are similar, or just policing in America in general, there are implicit and explicit biases on how they treat people of color. And I think all of that is based on supremacy, and also based on the historical nature of policing in America.
Thank you.
Dear panelists, you need to give yourself a pat in the back, because Wikipedia define supremacism as the belief of certain group of people feeling superior than others. However, giving us the scenario to reflect today, we're taking it to a different dimension. According to Chairman, then if we take of people's feelings, people's values, they are different. We are not sharing the same values. Some people share love, some shares hate. And he said something very deep. You have to live to understand it. We cannot bring back Martin Luther King. We cannot bring him back. Live to understand. We go with Winnie. Winnie is asking us to bring neighborhood together. Yet, Commissioner is giving us the reality check, the biases. Any one of us stopped by the police, do we still feel in our subconscious that if I'm Haitian, and even though it's Caribbean month, and we are celebrating our culture, that maybe they will treat Winnie different or Lorenzo different based on his skin tone? Those are the reflections that LCA brought to you today. Let's move forward to January 6th. Another scenario right before our eyes. And today we still not able in Congress to get bipartisan effort for justice in a way to happen. What is your feeling? Why is it that even though we leave that moment called insurrection, that some people are still in denial? Is it still social, superiority, racial superiority impacting it? Starting with you, Commissioner.
I just want to make sure I understand the question clearly. You're specifically referencing the insurrection at the Capitol?
Yes, January 6th.
Okay. What I will say is I believe that yes. I think that the insurrection in the Capitol was just reality, vivid reality of having racial and superior privileges, right? Because I don't know how else to explain it, but the bedrock of our democracy was attacked, and still to this day, I think that we are slow to arriving at justice. One thing I will say is that when you look at some of the people who have been arrested, or some of the people that have been that are persons of interest, and you see their role in society, you have people who've been in the military, you have people who are police officers, people who are everyday citizens in our society. And I will say, even in the city of North Miami Beach, we have a former police officer of the city of North Miami Beach that was one of the people involved in the insurrection. So this is basically where the rubber meets the road, because the thought process I have is that officer on our streets dealing with our residents would deal with them how? Okay. And what are the biases or the thought processes that that person has when they respond to a call for someone that looks like me, right? So that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's one of the points that I wanted to make as it relates to superiority and how that infiltrates itself into our day-to-day life.
As everyone is watching or listening, we are bringing you live scenarios. We are bringing you facts, dates, moments, things that we are living. Then that takes us to you, panelist Winnie, because you mentioned with the previous scenario that as neighbors, we have to come together. How do we come together when you just listen to Commissioner Fleuryman giving you a vivid example of a police officer from North Miami Beach, your backyard, being part of the insurrection? Who should we trust?
That is something very important. As a woman, we just fight for our woman's right to vote 101 years. And 1848, a group of women, they come together to saying that we need to get our right to vote. And what the one who pushing down from the woman is the men who in power all this year, they don't really passing that law. So, but the woman, we are so resilient, and then we keep fighting for that one to get our right to vote. So that is similar what Commissioner Mackenzie just talked about, is right. The right promises is that they just empower. They just so afraid they losing the power. That's why they came to the capital to really to have that January 6th insurrection happening. Because when they are so afraid, and then our past leadership keep really filming, getting them, say that they're gonna losing the power. That's why that's how to getting people gathering up together. And the only one thing I still don't believe is some people as a Congress member, they experience that day in the Congress chamber. They can still coming out say that nothing happened like that. So this is something that we have to, they will believe what they want to believe. And then, but we as the community, we are the immigrant, we are the people of color. And we have so many things that we still need to stand firm to fighting for it. For the Asian and the Chinese, first, when you look at me, I do not speak English. One time I have a conversation with a police officer over 3 hours, just talk about this issue. When you stop the traffic, as you see a right and a Chinese, who are you going to talk to first? Number one, you're going to say the Chinese doesn't speak English. I'm not going to talk to her. I'm going to talk to the right person. So the ticket, always give it to the Chinese, because they are the ones secondary, we filled out the information. So that's why what Commissioner Mackenzie is talking about, how the policing, that is something we did think about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sherman, your turn.
Yes, I think that it's important to point out that a significant majority of the people in this country are in favor of our democracy. And that includes, I mean, the majority of the people, 68% of the people in this country are white people. So that includes a lot of white people. And certainly includes most of the minority people. What happened in January 6th is the perfect example of what I was trying to say before, of the marriage between unbridled greed, the filthy rich, and with the white supremacy movement. The white supremacy movement is what we saw on the streets, you know, hitting the Capitol, ransacking the Capitol, doing all kinds of things in the Capitol. And we saw, I don't know if you guys were privy to the fact that Donald Trump was watching the whole thing. He was watching the whole thing and smiling and laughing and enjoying what was happening. If they had killed Mike Pence, he would have had his day. I mean, we were very close to have a major damage done to our democracy on that day. Mm-hmm. And there is something that we need to be very much aware of. It's like Winnie said, there is people denying what happened, and those kind of denials are what is setting up in the next insurrection, and create the problems of that situation. We need. This is our lives. This is our family lives. Our you know. I don't want to go back to Cuba. I live here. I spent my whole life here. I'm gonna fight until my last drop to make sure that nothing happens to our democracy.
Thank you. You just
Yes, Charmaine, you did good this time with time. Janice, it's such a pleasure to collaborate with you, and also Juan Godoy. Guys, we're gonna get to the time where you're gonna be able to comment and bring your questions. Then as you see, then the forum today, it's really research driven, because we are researching within ourselves that so much we contributed regardless of our skin tone, regardless of where we're from. And we are, most of us in this platform, we are immigrants, and this educational forum is happening in Immigrant Month, Caribbean Month, and we are very pleased to do so with Labor Community Alliance. We're gonna turn with the economical aspect of the filthy rich, like Sherman called them. Then the impact in our backyard called Miami Gardens. And I'm gonna turn the leadership right here to our co-host, Janice Kirkley, that will give us the example of Formula One. They keep coming back, keep coming in, keep coming back. And she will share with you the impact of people with money and how do they impact our local communities. Example with Miami Gardens. Janice?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, if you do not know about Formula One is supposed to be here next year in Miami Gardens. It is something that the community doesn't want. Councils of Miami Gardens voted no for this not to come in our community before election. Once they got elected, they brought it back and they addressed it and they voted to bring it into Miami Gardens. They claim about how much money we will receive. That money is only if they have races. This is air pollution. We have elementary, middle school, high school, right on the other side of the turnpike. We have elderly, we have people with health, but they do not care. They care about dollars and what they could receive in their campaign, and they claim we could get discount tickets to the event. I mean, the discount tickets, we wouldn't even be able to afford that discount. This is a health issue. This is something that will come off the turnpike, go on come out of the stadium, go on 27th Avenue, come out on 199th Street. They claim it's only going to be a week or two. They're going to have practice tests before. They already closed up a part of the road. Okay, the city allowed them to build a training stadium. I don't know if they're trying to get the community out where they could build their own hotel. But this is not good for the community. There was a petition for a recall. I don't think it was successful, but this was to let them know that as residents, we are upset with you. You should listen to the residents. So I'm saying to politicians, if you promise something to the community, you need to stick with. But we watch how dollars was put into this campaign, and speaking about the rich, the owner of the stadium that put money in. Just the event they just had on Saturday, it was $80,000 waste of money for this event that I didn't see a purpose when we have people in the community need assistance and need help for this event that was at College Racetrack. So I'm just saying this is a health issue in the community, a noise issue. And when this event block, us as residents gonna have to find, we have homes and everything. They're going to just block the residents out of their livelihood and their living of peace, health. So if you don't know about Formula One, and the thing about it, Homestead said that they would take it. They would take Formula One. If you know about the racetrack out there, there's no homes, there's no nothing.
Man, they have some homes now. Yeah, right. That's gonna create traffic. But anyway, thank you.
Downtown told them no, they did not want it, and they did not allow it. But because of our community, which is African American and different cultures, and Hispanic. Our council people and the mayor allowed this to come into our community for next year. But there is a lawsuit also. We don't know what the success would be, but that is the update on Formula One. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. As you will see, you will ask yourself, why bring that scenario into supremacism? It's because it has to do with superiority, people feeling more important than others, and also the impact of money. Then your money make you superior than anybody else, superior than the Hispanic, than the Black, and you can buy the world. And that mentality needs to change. And that taking me here to one of our senior member, Ed Cook, from the perspective of feeling that white has done so much for us. Then Ed Cook, with your reflection or comments on that aspect.
My first reaction is to compliment the speakers and everybody. Really, I learned from it, and I'm enriched by having taught. And no, really, I do ask though. The one word, two words threw me. One was the word white. It wasn't. I don't know. Do you know what? How the white person reacts to being called white in that context of white supremacy? Do you have a feeling of what it is to be? Do you know? There's a rule from our great social activist leader in the first century. He said something about, loving your neighbor. But he also said something, don't cause distress. And I just would ask you to caution when you use the word white in that context, where you're calling that supremacy. It's not just the unbridled rich. It's the ordinary pushcart guy who's white, who's a veteran and has come out and has failed in life, all the way up and down. The people who are white, who are hearing you, are basically people. They vote every time. There are people in the picture when you see the landing boat in World War II. Look at those faces, 50 guys about 5 minutes away from being dead, all white. Their time in the Korean War. Do you people, and I use the word you people, who were not here, your fathers weren't even born. Do they understand to be a part of a family who were white, whose brother died in Korea, for some Asian cause?
Thank you, Ed Cook. Then from that's a comment. Then from your perspective, then that's why we have the caliber of panelists that we have in that reflection today. We are not doing a conversation of color. We are taking it from a bigger perspective of any group of people and from the behavior. I maybe be Black, and I think they saw some few Black people also on January 6th. Then it's a mentality like we
these are the same whites who in the 50s, 60s, and I was part for 15 years, I was staff of Community Relation Board during the whole integration. These were the whites who marched in, who deliberately got in the middle of the marches so that the crowd would not throw things at them and shoot at them or harass them. These are the people
Yes.
who made an opening, and they're now being castigated. They're the people they're only asking you to say thank you in a little way.
Oh, no. Then, okay, Janice, you have a reaction to this?
I have a reaction, Dr. Fleur.
Yes. Janice first, and Commissioner Winnie, and
I'm gonna be real quick. Ed, you don't want the word white to be used, but when you say you people, do you know how So
Oh, I said that, Janice. I used it knowing that it's the same reaction.
Mute him.
No. No, Shelby. No,
No,
Janice, go ahead.
he has to observe the laws like everybody else.
No, yes, Janice, go ahead. Ed, please listen.
all I'm just saying, when you say you people could mean Black, white, Haitian, Asian. You people is like a bad word. Just how
I think so. I
agree.
second you do.
that's all I'm saying. If you ever in a conversation with someone, please do not say you people.
Yes, Ed.
But
Okay,
Janet,
Ed, please. No, Ed, please.
No.
We like that. Then we're going with Commissioner. Commissioner, please. How are we helping Ed here?
Okay, and permit me a few minutes so I can complete my thought. I think that, well, first of all, I think what Ed was saying is that he used the words "you people" and to create a reaction that white people may feel.
yes.
Talk about white
Yes.
privilege.
It's not
So
him calling us that. Yes.
Correct. So I wanted to lend some clarity to that.
Yes.
But as well, to address what he was saying as far as the word white privilege, because when we have these conversations, and I've had them with friends, I've had them with colleagues, and the first thing that some people will respond is that, their culture or their heritage has been on the front lines, or they have been on the front lines, or their family or friends have been on the front lines when it comes to the civil rights movement, or when it comes to fighting bias and fighting for LGBT rights and et cetera. All of those are good things. And I don't want to negate the fact that those things have actually occurred and people have actually contributed to causes that might not directly be related to them. However, it doesn't eliminate the fact that those issues still exist, right? So although a white person may feel particular about the term white privilege, doesn't mean that white privilege does not exist.
Yes.
It does, in fact.
Good
Can
point.
you hear me?
That's
Yes.
a good point. Yes.
Good
yes.
point.
I would like to say something on this
Okay.
too.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay.
I just want to let me just finish the statement. So I just want us to be very mindful that there are certain conversations we're going to have that may not feel good, but it doesn't mean that those things don't exist, and it doesn't negate the fact that there are white people who have contributed to solving equity issues that we have in our community.
Very good point, Commissioner. Very good point.
Agreed.
Chairman, and we.
Yes, I don't know where Ed got the idea that all white people were in the stand now, being judged. I make reference all the time to the fact that when I was in Pennsylvania in the elections of 2008 and 2012, when Obama won Pennsylvania with significant margins. I mean, not 5%, no, not 0.5% or nothing like that. Significant margins of victory in a state that is 88% white. In a state that is 88% white. But those white people there understood very clearly that what we were fighting for was their livelihood and their well-being as human beings. I am a white Hispanic, and I tell you, white skin privilege exists in my condition. If the example that Commissioner Florimond put out there, that if he is stopped by the police, the best thing that I can do if I stop by the police, keep the mouth shut. Keep my mouth shut so they don't know that I am not a run-of-the-mill white person there, because of the fact that I don't know who the policeman is going to be and how he's going to react. He might be a Derek Chauvin in disguise, and I will then face a very difficult situation. It's bogus to say that people cannot be pointing out what is that the filthy rich is doing with the poor whites that are following what they want them to follow. You know, all those people in the Oath Keepers, all those people in the Proud Boys, all those people in the 3%ers, the militia that almost were able to kidnap the governor in Michigan and were planning to rape her and kill her. I'm sorry, but those are that white mob that is putting a racial situation on the table. The same thing as those brown shirts in Germany that killed 6 million Jews. Same thing, same mentality. Yes, the vast majority of the white people are very good people, but those are the people that had taken advantage of that situation that create the problem for everybody else.
Thank you, Chair.
We need Tom.
Yes, I think that's a very,
yeah.
it is a,
in New York, we saw Asian being persecuted. Then we march. You and your team even call for reflection and unity in the community. Then what is your feeling with Ed comments?
well, I think you see me, I shaking my head, okay? Because what Ed, I have nothing really against what he said, what he representing and all the message, but somehow the world is changed. And like what Lorenzo have talked about, there's always some good people and doing a lot of good work, but there's a few people is doing a lot of bad work, more hurting the people. Like when I talk about the Exclusion Act, during that time, there's not many of the African American, there's not many other race is all right. They put up the law against the Chinese is the right people. So, and they are burning the Chinatown. Who are they? Right people. So it's going to have some of them have done a lot of work damaging the community. And then, but in general, because they have power in charge, they can do what they do. The alien land law is one of the law. It takes for me about 20 years to get that off from the Constitution, in for the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, to take away that message of discriminating Asian, eligible for citizenship. And that information put it up in the time in California. There is a lot of right people over there because they are seeing their economic, and Dr. Ford had talked about it earlier, but did not really get it. When they see the economic got threatened, because when the Chinese, after finish the Exclusion Act, they come out to work, they see the Chinese do a lot of work, they see it, the working people, I just saw it today, is they have working man party. They are the ones saying they're losing job. When they see economic got impact, they all came to using the law, put it into the one to really suppress another ethnic group, another communities. So those is things that is happening in the history. And then today, when we seeing a lot of this, the insurrection working up, because they feel their power have been threatened. They want to continue to having that. That's why they are coming out those ones who really did what they did during that time. But for us, when we look at that one, we want to work with all the community together. There's still have a lot of good people out there, but still, unfortunately, we have a lot of us being. Genesis talk about the Formula One, and the Formula One done in the Miami Garden is a Jeep, okay. The Formula One company making about billions dollars. They only give about 500,000 to the city of Miami Garden. They give only a penny to what they make to the city, and then doesn't really take. I went to a Formula One in Speed Ride Homestead. You do not know how noisy is it. The people watching that one, they had the ear muff. I never go to anything to see a whole different kind of like giveaway item. Year marketing on the bench. If you're sitting there on that one in the middle of the city, have the Formula One, how that really hurting the people and how little economic putting back to that city. And that is really what like the Miami Garden, they fighting for it because you're hurting the resident health, and then you are not getting the money to really the economic growth to really talk about what you gain from putting up that how you say, and what talking about they have money, they can do what they want to do. That is also superior that we are talking about. So what we're doing that as a community, we need to gathering up together to really stand up together to fight for whatever we believe is not good for our community, and that is what we are.
Time. I just wanted to give you the time is now 8:11. Okay, so I just want to let you know what time it is.
We're doing good, and that's the time for the Q&A with all of you, the participants. But before we go there, we don't want to forget a very important group that feel also minimized, discriminated. It's the Jewish community that we celebrate in the month of May as well. The Jewish appeals to someone like me, like white people, but yet they are not considered as white in America. Then are they also a victim of other group who feel superior than they are? Commissioner Fleuryman, where do they fit in that conversation?
I think that, you know, when we look at North Miami Beach, for instance, which I represent, we have a very, very large Jewish population. And I think that we've seen in our city how that population has been attacked. And there's been a lot of anti-Semitism in our community. Even in Hollandale recently, we saw some acts that were committed in front of a school, I believe, in Hollandale. So the Jewish community has long been persecuted, and so it is akin to a lot of the persecution and discrimination that other communities face. And I think that we need to combat it just like we combat any form of discrimination. So you know, I don't like to compare struggles, because I believe that everyone's struggle is a struggle that is unique to them. I don't compare the Holocaust with slavery. I don't compare you know, slavery in Haiti to slavery in the United States. I think that there are some commonalities, but we also have to respect everyone's unique experience as well. When we talk about them. So hopefully I've answered the question that way.
Chairman.
The Jewish community is like the communities of the people represented in this panel and on this forum is heavily Democrat. And part of the reason that they are heavily Democrat, I believe, has to do with the fact that they understand that liberal policies, democratic policies, are the guarantee of well-being for their community. And it's a reflection. Again, I go back to Germany, because the suffering of the, if it hadn't happened, for me, at least for me, if it hadn't happened, what happened in Germany, I might not be able to understand what's happening here. I really do believe that what happened there make me understand what is happening here. So I owe to the Jewish community what happened there in order for me to be able to understand how to navigate the deal here. The Jewish community in the main, and one of the co-founders of the Labor Community Alliance was a very, 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 very Jewish guy, Jack Lieberman. And so, you know, we in our group, which is a very diversified group, And we love it that way because basically we represent South Florida, and we represent in many ways the nation. And one of the things that makes this nation so beautiful is precisely all that, to have, you know, this amalgam of people that other people don't feel that good about, because they feel that they're losing power with all these other people being on the mix.
Thank you, Chairman. Winnie?
Well, I think that coming back to talking about it is we know each community is different. Just what like Commissioner Mackenzie just talked about. We should be all aligned together. As far as we know that the Jewish community, that we getting a little bit more outreach right now to try to working together to some of the issue. Years ago they do, but then they all starting. I think leadership will make a lot of difference, and now they embracing more working with various community on the issues. And same as you saying that May is celebrating Jewish month, and then also celebrating the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So every time when we do something like this one, we should embrace each communities, and we are suffering, like what Commissioner have mentioned. We all have being discriminating, being persecuting in our own ethnic group. And then same thing for the Chinese. We don't speak English well, but we work hard. And then when we still have a lot of here that we are having them to become citizens. And some of them, they've been here over 20, 30 years, living in the United States, because what they said, I cannot speak English well. I'm afraid to become citizens. Why we are working with them, and then we know about language is one of the really major cultural difference among our groups. And now we have a very good moment. We embrace each other. We're using English to sharing about our differences. And then we may have the same thing, like we talk about how Jewish community going, and how the Haitian, and how the Chinese, how the Asian and Hispanic. We all having our share of the tough time. And then, but I think when now we are working together to look into the one point, to work together to have a benefit for everybody, and then work with the policy change. And then right now there's a lot of policy in state of Florida really suppress the minority voters, and also have something for the Asian. Again, our governor just citing something 2 weeks ago to really for the foreign influences for the school and for the grant and all these things. And we just got all the 89 law from the Constitution. Now we bring back some other law. It's really targeting something.
Time. I love it, guys. Where do we go from here? That's how we started our education forum right after the election in November 2020. And I'm amazed of where we are. We had COVID-19. And now most of us in this forum, we are vaccinated. And as we wrapping up the third and the last education forum for 2021 and sending you for a break just on education, and we will resume in August and give you the break for summer, we want you to really research Labor Community Alliance, see other topics that we're having, and see how we have no issues of superiority here, but yet we bring you superior forums where we take your mind to a different dimension. We don't want to wrap up because we still have like 9 minutes. We see that we have 9 powerful people here. Each of you have 1 minute. Nucleus, you, Shelton, you have 1 minute to either question or comment.
I've had my hand up for like 10 minutes. Is there a way that I can get a question in here?
Yes. Yvonne, I had you right after Nucleus. You are number 2. That's why I said 9.
Oh, no, I'm
Paul,
number
you are
one.
number
I'm
3.
number one.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Ivan, you're number 1? Okay. Then Nucleus, you
Nucleus.
will be, no, Nucleus, you will be 2.
I yield, no,
that-
I yield to
Okay.
Nucleus. He's a better man than I am. I would
Nah.
like him to go.
Okay, then let's go with the numbers. So co-host Janice does not spank me when it comes to time. Nucleus, you have 1 minute. You will be followed by Ivan, and Michael, you're the third one.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dr. I don't have anything much to add. I'm just listening, really. It's been a fascinating discussion. I just want to thank the panelists and everybody for their contributions. And then with that, I just wanted to defer to my brother, Evan.
Mm-hmm.
Good choice. Good choice.
Evan? you have
Yes,
the mic. Uh-huh.
I would be happy. I'm going to grab his minute too. First of all, I want to thank the organization. This is a great forum. I always love to talk about it because I have the unity in the community is my pet project. I'm Jewish, but don't make me prove it. I just want, on Ed's point, no one ever wants to be grouped in to any generalization. So his point, I think, is that some people, are insulted by the fact that when you say white supremacy, that they feel grouped in. But I want to counter that by saying I am white. I'm not insulted when we say white supremacy because I'm not a supremacist. So I don't think you're talking about me at all.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So the only people that are going to have a problem with that, and this is not necessarily fact, are those people that are, or maybe that are in the closet and, they don't want to be, they don't want it to come out like that. So that's one point that I wanted to make. I also wanted to say that it is truly up to white people, if we want to grab that category, to step up to the plate and stand up for these minority communities. I've been in this situation before where this young lady was being put into a bad position. She was a sweet little black girl online at Publix, and this guy came in and he was starting to railroad her. And I said to him, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "This lady was next and I'm after her. And I don't know who you are, but if you want to bring the manager over here, I'll be happy to tell that person." And only when I intervened did he back off. Okay. I also want to say that the police brutality things that we're running into is not just a race culture thing, because when I was 22, I had a long hair and a ponytail, and I did not want to be stopped by a cop because right away I was some young punk and he was going to get me, and he told me my tail light was out and wrote me a ticket, and he was really nasty to me, and I'm white. So it's not just, the discrimination comes in all colors and all situations. Thank you, Janice. You are the best timekeeper I have ever seen.
Thank you, Ivan. Michael?
Yes, thank you for this forum for everybody. I wanted to talk about how the media has tried to rewrite history for Winnie and all of the Asians who have been, the media has in the past have hurt them, the Indians, blacks, white. I'm Jewish, and I know that's my father was discriminated. I was discriminated too. And then they're rewriting history. They want to take the Holocaust out. And Wikipedia, they have people changing Wikipedia, and people use it as reference. And it's important for us to support the media. The thing is, that's why it's so important for us to pass the For the People Act, because For the People Act is going to take the dark money out of politics, and those people will have to be disclosed. Like Lorenzo talks about the filthy rich people. Well, the filthy rich people are giving money to Fox News and all these right-wing people, and they don't have to be disclosed. And the For the People Act is going to do it. And that's why it's so important for Manchin and Cinema to be called out. What I heard, one last
Okay.
thing, one
Yes.
last thing, I heard that the White House or the Democrats are going to start advertising the infrastructure problems of Kentucky. And then they're going to go all the way around the states and try to browbeat them to change their mind. And maybe they'll go to West Virginia, maybe they'll go to Arizona and show the infrastructure. And that way the people will know that they have to pass the Infrastructure Act and change the Cinema and Manchin.
Okay, now I have to give half a minute to you, Glenda, because you know when we do the forum and our spirit of diversity, we always give everybody a minute. Glenda?
Oh, hi. Yes, this was a great forum. So much discussion, so many different things were brought up. I really love it. It was so informative. I thank you all for all the comments and everything we talked about. And I will yield my time to someone else, but thank you so much. I really enjoyed the forum. Thank you.
Okay, Glenda, yield her time to you. Josephine, comment?
Charlene has her hand up as well, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah,
Josephine?
my hand been up for about 10 minutes too.
Yes, yes, I'm not leaving you out. Yes.
That's all right. I fully enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Hillary?
Beg your pardon?
Hillary? Comments?
I didn't have my hand up, but thank you. This has been a wonderful forum.
Very good. Dottie? Dottie Johnson?
Study.
Dottie Johnson? Okay, now Patricia.
Charlene Butler has had her
Charlene
hand up.
Butler and Patricia.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Let me ask the commissioner a question. Parkland, you talk about racism. Nicholas Cruz killed 17 kids, and he still haven't been charged. And also, they went after the school superintendent, which they said Nicholas Cruz fell through the crack of child services. They should have gone after child services. On top of that, Florida is capital punishment. This boy has not been charged with anything. And you talk about high places, racism. I look at the courts as being very racist. They have not done anything with this young man.
Commissioner?
A great question and great points. And I'll answer that within my capacity that the criminal justice system as well as the policing system has long had components of racism and discrimination that we are trying to fight on a daily basis. And I pointed some of those out earlier. I will say, as far as the superintendent of Broward County Public Schools, that that was a public lynching. That's my belief. With the we have to be mindful that there are a lot of people that are hurting when it comes to the Parkland massacre. And Stoneman Douglas, and we really, our hearts go out to those families, and our hearts go out to all of the victims. However, I believe that Robert Runcie has performed impeccably as the school board superintendent, and I think that what he fell victim is what a lot of leaders fall victim to is that at the end of the day, a lot of people aim for the person at the top. And so he fell victim to that, unfortunately. But I think the Broward school system is losing a very, very key person that's had played a major role in the success of Broward schools. So that's my feeling on that topic.
It's 8:29. Now, Christina Albright. Comments? Okay, Patricia White. You're the last person I'm calling.
Oh. Good evening, everyone. And we saved the best for last. My quick comments are these. I have always been a proponent of these politicians that we recycle them over and over and over. And it's painful because they don't give a rat's patootie about us. And as far as now, they're making it so that we can't even rise up against them. So what we need to do, voters' education is key, and we really need to put that in front of us. It's not what it's not what they promise us that they're going to do, because we see that doesn't work. We have to make them accountable, and we have to, whatever they say they're going to do is not what they say they're going to do, it's what they have done. That's my comment. If they have not done it, you read their background. That's what we want to do. Make sure that voters' education is key. The next cycle is going to be a little crazy, so we need to hurry up and get it done.
I could not love a closing